So I have a slightly different opinion than most business coaches and sales coaches will tell you about how to create a sales conversation in a way that feels good to you and the person you're speaking with and maximizes your chances of getting new clients. And the reason for that is, let me take you a bit back and share my very first sales call experience. This was when I was starting my first online business at the time in digital advertising, because that's what my skills in my job were at the time. And I had helped this woman. I had found her randomly online in a Facebook group, and she had been asking questions about advertising that I could answer. So I messaged her and I said, hey, I would love to help you. I'm completely new at starting an online business, and this is what I do in my job. So I'm happy to answer your questions for you in return just for some market research to see if this is even a viable idea. And so I got on the phone with her, I got the market research, I gave her amazing value. And then after that, we just talked back and forth via email for about 2 weeks, where she just asked me follow-up questions and I just gave her a ton of value because I just wanted to go out there and first make sure that this was actually a business that I could build. About 2 weeks later, she emails me and she said, hey, you've given me so much incredible value for free. I would love to actually hire you. And so I actually had to say, okay, wait, please hold on. Give me a week. Let me go and figure out what I can sell, because I didn't even know what I could sell at the time, what to include in it, what to charge, and let's talk in a week. And I also, by the way, had no sales training, so I had no idea how to do a sales conversation. So I Googled, how to do a sales call, discovery call scripts, everything I could think of. And I finally found one that was kind of okay. So I got on the phone with her. I followed the exact script. I was so nervous. I just sweat through my shirt. And even though I was really clunky, I wasn't really selling, I wasn't being smooth or anything, at the end of it, she said yes without hesitation. And the reason because, and this is why I wanted to share this, it wasn't so much what I said during the sales call. It wasn't so much that I said some psychological voodoo or that I was so pushy or so good at handling her objections. It was that I had built a relationship before the actual call, so that she came in primed and excited to actually work with me. So I wanted to share that with you because way too often you will hear things from people saying, just get someone cold. If you do the sales call well, you're going to make great sales. And yes, that will work for a relatively small percentage of your audience. But what's going to work even better and feel even better to you and the person that you're speaking with is if you focus beforehand on creating the right content, the right relationship, so that when they come to the sales call, they're excited, they're primed and ready to continue to work with you. So keep that in mind. It's not that everything relies on the sales call, which should take a lot of pressure off. However, that doesn't mean there's not room for improvement to increase your likelihood of making a sale on the sales call, and that's what we're going to go over today. So what I'm going to go over is not necessarily a script, because what I've found over and over is that when I give a script, my students end up just repeating the script on their call and it doesn't sound like them. It's not natural. They're so focused on following the script that they don't end up having a conversation with the person that they're speaking with. So instead, what I'm going to walk you through is just the few main phases of the sales conversation so that you can sit with it, you can think through it for yourself, come up with language that actually sounds like you, and then be free to have an actual pleasant conversation with someone that is much more likely to end in a sale than you following any script and not having a conversation and not sounding like yourself. So let's begin. The first part of the conversation is really digging into understanding what had someone reaching out to you. What challenges are they struggling with? What's going on with them? And what have they tried that hasn't worked? It doesn't matter what industry you're in, but what you really need to understand is where that potential client is coming from. And again, this is about having a conversation. You can open it with something like, hey, I'd love to hear a little bit about what's going on with you. What had you reaching out? And then they're going to tell you what they were struggling with. And then this is the time for you to really dig in and have that conversation by asking, can you tell me a little bit more about what happened there? Why was that so difficult? Why do you think it didn't work? And just really understanding all the things they've gone through and where they are mentally in terms of thinking if what they want is even possible for them and what really had them scheduling a sales conversation with you. So that's the first piece. The second piece that it's so important for you to understand is the flip side. Why do they want to solve this problem? What does it look like once they have that problem solved? Why is it so important to them to have it solved and, on top of that, to have it solved now? We all have reasons for why we want certain things. It's not just because. It's because there's often a very specific goal we have attributed to that area, whether that's finally having the job that we love so that we can go back to our parents and say, hey, look, mom and dad, I did it. Or just being able to show up the manager who didn't promote us when we deserve that promotion saying, hey, look, you didn't appreciate me, but here's someone who does, right? Lots of little reasons. Or for weight loss, maybe it's you just want to feel good and look at yourself in a mirror and think, I'm sexy. Just one of many, many possible reasons. I'm just sharing it to give you an example. And so what you really want to understand is what's going on with them, what's really driving them to want this and to want it now. Because if someone doesn't want something, there is nothing any other person can say or do to make them want it. So that has to come from an inside place, internally. And it's your job to understand where that is coming from. Then once you understand that this should be a decent conversation that's lasting you a good 20, 30 minutes, these first two portions. So let me just make that clear. This is not just one or two questions and then you move on. And once you really get a feel for that, then it's time to move on to talk about how your offer bridges the gap between all the things that they're struggling with and where they want to be. Really mapping out that picture for them, whether that's your framework and showing them how it's going to be customized to them, or whether it's just sharing a little bit more of the details of why nothing else has worked, but why your framework is going to work, and just really sharing that. So something that I often do is when I help my students build their own online businesses to replace their 9-to-5s, they'll often come to me having tried a few things, maybe done some posts on social media, maybe taken some courses, and it having not worked. So what I'll do is I'll point out, hey, it didn't work because building a business isn't just about posting on social media. It's not just about doing this one specific thing that you've learned about in a course. It's about following a comprehensive system to get all of these things in place, whether that's your offer, your pricing, your audience, where you're finding your audience, what content you're sharing with them, your delivery, your sales, all of that. And so I'll point out what pieces they've been missing and really show them how customizing the pieces of the framework I walk my clients through is going to make a massive difference to them. So notice I'm not trying to be salesy. I'm basically just showing them, hey, here's why this is going to help you get what you want. That's really what it's about. And then after that, I take a pause and I say, hey, so this is how I would help you. Do you want to hear more about the investment and what that would look like? Right? So I'm making sure that, first of all, based on everything I've shared, it really sounds like something that they would actually be interested in. And when they say yes, which most of the time they do, because I've done the work up front, like I talked about earlier, of building that relationship and making sure people who schedule a sales conversation with me are actually primed, then I'm sharing with them exactly how I'm going to help them, then they're interested and excited to learn more. And so once that happens, then I'll share, okay, so to do all of this, this is what it looks like, here's the investment, and then I'll do another check-in with them. So does that feel like a good fit for you? And if it is, great, then we'll take the payment and we'll schedule our first call, all of that good stuff, and we'll make it happen. Now, if it doesn't feel like a good fit, then I do talk through, let's talk about why it doesn't feel like a good fit. Is it because this program, doesn't seem like what you're looking for? If that's the case, then we can talk through if you have any doubts, or if it absolutely doesn't feel like a good fit, then we can go ahead and wrap up the conversation. The other big question that comes up is, I don't know about this investment. And so I want to make it clear, this is not about being pushy. And I always ask, hey, if this is going to affect your ability to pay your bills, then we can wrap up the conversation now. But if not, then let's talk about what's really behind this fear of this investment. Because if it's doable for you and you really want this, like you've been telling me, then maybe it's fear that you won't be able to get the results, or that fear that you're not going to be able to follow through. And so we're going to talk through that. And then that ends with either, okay, we've talked it through, resolved it, and we can move forward, or no, I'm not in a good place to move forward with the investment, and so we'll wrap it up. So there are a few more specifics than that, of course. You can always get more detailed with everything, but at the surface level, this is all you need to go out there and start conducting really powerful and effective sales conversations. And like I said, this is good enough for you to be able to go out there and focus on finding the right people, building the right relationships first, because that's going to make way more of a difference than you just having killer sales skills and finding someone within 24 hours and just pushing them or trying to convince them into making a sale, right? So that is honestly all you need for now. Now, if you do want a step-by-step process for how to find your audience, how to get clear on your offer, what to price yourself, and all of that, this exact step-by-step system I used to build my first ever online business and replace my income before I even turned in my notice, go ahead and sign up for the free masterclass I have for you that's linked in the description below. It'll walk you through all of that so that you can take that, use this sales conversation flow that we just went through on our video and go out there and get your first or next paying clients. So hopefully you found this really helpful. I'd love to hear from you in the comments what your biggest takeaway was. And aside from that, I will see you next time. Make sure that if you're not subscribed for my weekly videos on building your own online coaching or course-based business, that you go ahead and hit that subscribe button to be notified. I will see you next time.